One of the trends you've probably seen a lot of if you've been paying attention to cocktail menus in the last year or two is the extraordinary influence of Asian herbs, spices, and kind of the adding of things like textural elements into cocktails. It's brought an amazing array of flavors, and it's also a fantastic way in which we can use flavored vodkas. One of my favorite flavored vodkas, of course, is 42 Below Feijoa, a very, very dry, distinctive flavor. We're going to use that as the base for a cocktail called Mrs. Enough. And it's got a little bit of fresh coriander or cilantro, depending on where you're from. Then we're going to muddle a little bit of a fresh, juicy Bourbon pear, a little dash of fresh sugar syrup, some freshly squeezed lemon juice, green apple liqueur, and 42 Below Feijoa. But as always, whenever we're using fruit-based ingredients, we begin with, in this case, the coriander or cilantro. Then we're going to take a little bit of this fresh, juicy pear. Just going to cut this here. Not looking for too much pear, but we want a little bit of sort of juiciness. Don't want any of the core if we can help it as well. So we just give this a nice fresh chop. It's a good looking pear. Just a little touch of firmness, which is good. So it's not going to become too juicy or too sweet. And then to this, what I'm looking for here, I'm going to be using a whole measure of 42 Below Feijoa. So what that means is I'm looking for about a half measure from the fresh citrus. Using one of these, a citrus squeezer. In this case, yellow for lemon. I've chopped half a lemon and put that upside down there. And then just using a measuring cup, what I'm looking for in this case is around, say, if I use 30 mils of 42 Below Feijoa, then I'm looking for around 15 mils using my little measuring cup here of fresh lemon juice. Not quite enough there, so that one can go into the compost. And we will just juice a little more. Again, cocktails are much more about balance than they are about exact quantities. Once you decide on a quantity, you just want to make sure that you've got each ingredient roughly in balance. Lemon juice there. Then we're going to take a little bit of, this is a product called simple syrup or sugar syrup or gom syrup. It's nothing more than equal quantities of sugar and water stirred through until it's well mixed. You can either put that in a pan or you can easily just stir it through in a shaker or even shake it in a preserving glass. A little splash there of sugar just to bring the dryness from the lemon juice back into balance. Okay, we just want to make sure that these are in balance. Now just before we add our spirits, I'm just going to give this a quick muddle. This is a technique called muddling. It's obviously hugely popular now. You probably know it from cocktails like the mojito, the Caipirosca. This is a fantastic way to get the flavors out of fresh fruits. So what we're doing here, we're just giving it a gentle press, and what's happening is the pear is breaking up, the sugar and the coriander or cilantro, if you will, are combining, getting a nice little sort of slurry in there. You're getting very, very fresh fruit flavors as well, getting lovely kind of aromas. Then we're going to add a full measure, so twice as much 42 Below Feijoa as we used of lemon juice and of simple syrup. And then we're going to use a half measure of green apple liqueur. Then we get rid of our ice. We've got a nice cold glass here. Now because we've got little chunks of pear and we've got little chunks of coriander, we're going to use what's called fine straining. So I'm going to use a tea strainer here, as well as the more traditional Boston shaker. But before we get that far, we're going to need to shake it. So we ice this as much as possible, throw the shaking tin over the top, and then we're going to give this a good hard shake. About 10 to 15, even 15 seconds if you can be bothered. Really want to make this move. Always try and shake over your shoulder or towards you. Try and avoid doing this, of course. Really doesn't look, or perhaps even this, right? The reason for that, of course, is that bartender folklore says you make the same face while shaking that you do whilst in flagrante. So try and look good. Got a lovely juicy fresh cocktail here. You can see the fine strainer has managed to capture little chunks of pear and little chunks of coriander. And there we have it, the Mrs. Enough. Delicious, much drier and much cleaner than you'd think. All the flavors are perfectly in balance. It's really just lifted with a lovely juicy flavor of coriander.